Okay, so are you ready to jump into IELTS Speaking Part 1?
Yeah, let's do this.
You know, I think most people, when they think about getting a band 9 on IELTS Speaking, they think,
Long answers, lots of big words.
right, it's going to be
super complex.
But one of the things that was so interesting that we found is that actually shorter answers
can be better.
Yeah, and I think that goes against
kind of what you think.
Everything you think. You think more is better, but
especially I think when you're learning a language, you think, oh, if I use all these big words, I know it sounds smart.
But the examiners actually want
natural conversational English.
You're saying they want to feel like they're having
a coffee.
A coffee with a friend.
Yeah.
Just chatting.
A nice check.
And so one of the sources actually had this funny little anecdote about an examiner who was really charmed.
I love those.
By a student who admitted to burning their toast that morning.
It's those little details.
Yes, and
that make it.
It's those authentic moments that make you stand out because they're listening to so many people.
They are, and they can tell when something is
rehearsed
or
like a canned response, right? Yeah. But when you throw in those little things like, oh, I burnt my toast this morning,
and it shows that you are
so
comfortable enough to be yourself.
Real.
Yeah.
And so I love that they said that it was really charming because it made that student stand out.
Absolutely.
And so how do we do that? How do we create that conversational, charming
style?
Well, one of the sources gave this great 3-step formula.
Ooh, I love formula.
Me too.
Break it down. Give me the steps.
Yes.
Okay, so step 1 is to start with a direct answer.
Okay.
So just a few words that directly answer what is being asked.
Got it. Okay.
Step 2 is to follow up with a mini reason.
Okay.
Just a sentence explaining your answer.
Yeah.
But the key here is to make it personal.
Personal. Okay.
Think like emotions, habits, sensory details. So, not just textbook.
Don't get bogged down in generic explanations.
Yeah, like I like this because it is good.
Right, or this is my favorite color because it's the best color.
Exactly.
So one of the examples that they gave is like the question, do you like mornings?
Okay.
So a less effective answer would be something like, coffee helps me focus and be more productive.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's a little... it's true.
But a band 9 answer would be something like, oh, I love mornings. It's my quiet time. The smell of coffee brewing just wakes me up.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear the examiner smiling?
I can.
Like, it's just so much more...
engaging.
Yeah,
and like you said...
and personal.
You could picture it.
Right.
Like, oh, I could see you in your kitchen.
And then the final step in the formula is optional, but it can really add a nice touch, which is the micro example.
Okay.
So it's like a tiny detail that adds a bit more color.
Okay.
So in the case of do you like mornings, it would be something like, oh, especially when it's my favorite hazelnut blend. Oh, I like that.
So just like a little extra something that makes you stand out.
Yeah. And what I like too about those examples that you gave is that it's not like they're using a ton of super high level vocabulary.
Right. It's
really the way that it's phrased and the way that it's structured.
It's the formula.
Yeah.
And I love that they gave this pro tip to ditch the word because.
Okay.
And use a dash instead.
Interesting.
So instead of saying, I love jogging because it clears my head, you'd say, I love jogging. It clears my head.
I see.
It's instantly more...
Conversational.
Yeah, it feels like I'm...
talking to you.
Chatting with your friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's move on to what this source called forbidden tricks.
Ooh, forbidden tricks.
I know, it sounds very...
I like it.
Exciting, right?
Yeah.
And they're basically little hacks that the examiners aren't going to tell you.
Okay.
But they can really boost your score. So
give me the goods.
I'll give you the goods.
Okay.
One trick is what they call the actually pivot. Actually pivot.
Yeah, and so this is where you slightly shift the question to reveal something more personal or interesting about yourself.
Oh.
So for example, if they're like, do you like museums?
Okay.
And you'd rather talk about concerts, you could say, actually, I prefer live concerts. The energy is just amazing.
Oh, I like that because it shows that you're still engaging with the question, but you're
taking it.
Kind of putting your own
spin on
it. Yeah. And I think that is a really good tip because a lot of times...
yeah, sometimes the questions
are kind of...
are a little boring or...
a little dry or...
not something you're interested in.
Or you just talked about it in part 2.
Exactly.
So you don't want to repeat yourself.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to kind of... pivot.
Yeah.
Then there's the 1-second pause, which seems so simple, but it's so effective.
Oh, yeah. Just take a moment.
breathe.
Breathe,
And-
like you would in a real conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it just adds that touch of authenticity, and it prevents you from sounding like you're reciting a memorized script.
That's key.
It's so key.
Yeah.
And then another one that they mention is using emotional verbs.
Ooh. Okay.
So instead of just liking something,
Right.
like I like museums.
Yeah.
Instead, you could say I adore museums.
I'm obsessed with museums.
Or I can't stand museums.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, just to add a little bit more
Personality.
personality.
Yeah.
And then the last trick is what they call the so what filter.
Okay.
And so this is a really good one because it's like, ask yourself if your reason for liking or disliking something sounds boring even to you.
Right. Even to you.
It's probably not going to impress the examiner.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're like, I like music because it's fun. It's
Yeah.
like,
That's true. But
okay, but who doesn't like music because it's fun?
right. And maybe instead you could say something like, I like music because it helps me relax after a long day.
Or I like music because it reminds me of my childhood. Something that's a little bit more
specific.
Yeah, and then the final one, and this is a really good one to help you keep your answers concise, which is the breath rule.
Okay.
And the idea is to never speak longer than one inhale.
Oh, interesting.
If you find yourself gasping for air,
Yeah.
you're probably overdoing it.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's a good way to kind of check yourself.
Barometer.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so are you ready to put your newfound Part 1 knowledge to the test?
I think so. Let's try it.
Okay, let's play a little game called Band 9 or Fake. Okay, the question is, do you use social media?
Okay.
Answer A. Yes, I utilize platforms like Instagram and Facebook for social networking and staying connected with friends and family.
Okay.
Answer B. Totally. I'm kind of addicted to Instagram. I love seeing what my friends are up to and all the funny memes.
Okay. Well, right away I can tell that answer B is much more
Conversational.
conversational.
Right, and it uses
It uses like more natural language, like
slang.
totally. And
I'm
addicted.
addicted.
And memes.
Memes. That's very current.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say answer B.
You got it?
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yay.
You win.
All right.
Okay. So answer B perfectly embodies that conversational tone
Yeah.
that we've been talking about.
Mhm.
It uses everyday language, a little bit of humor, and even a touch of self-deprecation with that kind of addicted.
Yes. And it still kind of shows off vocabulary, but in a natural way.
It doesn't feel forced.
Yes, exactly.
It just feels natural, and I think that's what's so important.
I agree.
And it's relatable, right?
Yeah.
So now before we move on to the treacherous terrain of part 3,
Uh-oh.
our source has an exciting challenge for you.
A challenge.
The 7-day short answer challenge.
Okay.
So it's basically a boot camp for mastering these part 1 techniques.
Okay.
And each day focuses on a specific skill,
Nice.
starting with answering 5 part 1 questions in just 10 seconds each. Wow. Okay, get to the point.
Get to the point right.
Yeah.
And then you refine those answers using the 3-step formula. You add emotional verbs. You even teach the formula to a friend, which is a great way to solidify your understanding.
Oh, yeah, teach it to someone else.
Right.
Right.
Because when you can explain it,
You know it.
you know it right.
Yeah.
So by committing to this challenge, you'll not only improve your IELTS speaking skills, but you'll gain confidence in your ability to just communicate naturally and effectively in English,
Which is the goal.
which is the goal.
Yeah.
And the best part is this challenge can benefit you beyond the IELTS exam.
Oh, how so?
Imagine applying these techniques to your everyday conversations.
Oh,
You'll be amazed at how much more engaging and memorable you become,
that's a good point.
right?
Yeah, it's not just about the test. It's about
It's about life.
real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Communication.
Exactly. And so in part 2 of our deep dive, we're going to venture into the often dreaded territory of IELTS speaking. Part 3. So buckle up.
I'm ready.
We'll see you there.
Let's go.
All right. So welcome back to our IELTS deep dive. We just finished tackling part 1.
All they're short answers, right?
Concise answers.
Concise answers.
And now we are facing the music, or rather speaking of part 3.
The big one.
Yeah. This is where things get a little more
Intense. Intense. Yeah, the examiner really starts to dig deep.
Yeah, and I think, it's not enough to just give simple answers anymore.
No, they want to hear.
They want to hear you, articulate your thoughts.
Your opinions, yeah.
Explain things.
Justify your viewpoints.
Yeah, it can be pretty intimidating.
It can.
So what did we find? Like, what are the
First of all,
secret weapons?
it's not like a totally separate island.
Okay.
It's actually like a continuation of part 2.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So it all kind of flows together.
Flows together. So the questions are often stemming from the topic that you just discussed.
You need your long term.
In your long term. So
Right.
it's all connected, which is good.
Yeah. Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, it's not like they're throwing curveballs at you.
Yeah.
It's stuff that you should already
Be familiar with.
be familiar with and have some ideas about.
Okay, but even if you have a really strong part 2 performance, those part 3 questions can still be pretty daunting.
They can.
So are there like specific techniques for tackling them?
There are. Yeah. One of the sources that we looked at talked about something called the bridge.
The bridge.
Yeah.
What is the bridge?
So it's basically a way to smoothly connect your answers back to the personal experiences that you shared in part 2.
Okay.
So it creates a nice flow and shows that you're thinking deeply.
Okay, I like the sound of that, but give me an example because I'm a little fuzzy on how it actually works.
Sure. So let's say in part 2, you talked about your love for cooking.
Okay.
And then in part 3, the examiner asks you, what are the benefits of teaching children how to cook?
Okay, yeah.
You could use the bridge and say something like, well, I remember when my grandmother first taught me how to bake cookies.
Oh.
And then you could talk about how that experience maybe sparked your creativity or taught you the importance of following instructions.
Okay, so instead of just giving like a generic answer about the benefits of cooking for kids, you're grounding it in
A story.
a personal anecdote,
Yes.
which makes it way more
Engaging.
engaging.
Relatable.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But how do you prevent yourself from going off on a tangent and like talking too much about your personal story?
Right. Well, the key is to keep the anecdote concise
Ooh, okay.
and relevant to the question.
Okay.
So it's really just a springboard to launch into a more detailed response.
Got it.
So you share your quick memory about baking cookies, and then you talk about the broader benefits of teaching children to cook.
So you bring it back to the question.
You bring it back.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bridge, that's a good one.
The bridge.
Any other
What else do we have?
gems from the research?
Let's see. Oh, this one's good. The opinion sandwich.
The opinion sandwich.
Okay, you ready for this?
I'm hungry.
Okay, so picture a sandwich.
Okay, 3 layers.
3 layers.
Okay.
First layer is your direct opinion, stated clearly and concisely.
Okay.
The second layer is your justification or reason for holding that opinion,
Okay.
backed up with examples and evidence.
Okay.
And the final layer is a counter-argument or an alternative perspective.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's like showing that you recognize that other viewpoints exist.
So it's not just about like,
Being right.
yeah, or just stating your opinion. It's like showing that you've considered
It's different angles.
different angles.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows that you have that intellectual depth.
Nuance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the bridge. We've got the opinion sandwich. Those are 2 really good ones.
Yeah, those will help you.
Yeah, but what about vocabulary?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it seems like, we're focusing so much on being authentic and conversational,
Right.
but don't we also need to show off our vocabulary?
You do. It's all about balance.
Right.
You don't want to sound like a walking dictionary.
Right.
But you also want to show the examiner that you have a good command of English.
Oh, okay.
So one of the sources that we looked at suggested focusing on collocations.
Collocations.
Yeah, words that naturally go together.
Okay.
So instead of just saying big problem,
Yeah.
you could say major issue
Mm-hmm.
or pressing concern.
I see.
So it's subtle,
It's subtle, but it shows...
but it shows a more sophisticated grasp of English.
Okay, so it's not about memorizing a bunch of random words.
No.
It's about understanding how words
Work together.
work together.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and again, it's that whole thing of immersing yourself in the language, right?
Yes, like that coffee with a friend analogy. Like
Yeah.
if you're talking to someone who uses really rich vocabulary, you're going to start picking up those words and phrases.
You will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like osmosis.
Soaking it up.
Soaking it up.
Yeah. Okay, well, I feel like we've uncovered some serious treasure in this part 3 jungle.
You did the
Yeah.
bridge,
The opinion sandwich.
collocations.
With lots of good stuff.
And I love that, these strategies aren't just for the IELTS exam.
Oh, no.
You can use these in real life.
Absolutely.
So it's about becoming a more confident and articulate communicator.
Yeah, unlock your potential.
I love that.
I do too.
But hold on to your hats, folks, because there's still one more piece of the IELTS puzzle we need to address.
Pronunciation.
Pronunciation. So get ready for part 3 of our deep dive, where we're going to explore the secrets to making your spoken English truly shine. Welcome back to our final part of this IELTS Speaking deep dive, and now it's time to talk about pronunciation.
The big one?
I know. I feel like it's often overlooked.
It is. Yeah, people get so focused on vocabulary and grammar.
Right.
But pronunciation is so important.
It's so key, and I think our research made it really clear that it's a key ingredient in getting that band 9.
Absolutely.
Because you can have the most brilliant ideas.
But if your pronunciation isn't clear, your message is going to get lost.
It's true.
It's kind of like having a delicious meal that's beautifully presented, but then it's covered in sand.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, it might be amazing, but
You're not going to enjoy it.
it's not going to be a pleasant experience.
Not at all.
So how do we polish our pronunciation to really shine in this IELTS speaking test?
Well, one thing that our source mentioned was focusing on individual sounds.
Okay.
Especially ones that tend to trip up non-native speakers.
You know, those tricky vowel sounds are a classic example.
Yes.
Like ship and sheep or cat and cut.
Those are tough.
I know.
Yeah, and actually our source specifically talked about the schwa sound.
A schwa.
Yeah, that neutral vowel sound that we use in unstressed syllables.
It's everywhere.
It is. It's everywhere. And if you can get that right, your speech is going to sound so much clearer and more natural.
It's like the ninja of English pronunciation.
It is.
But mastering it can really make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the individual sounds.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Word stress and sentence intonation.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, they're essential for conveying meaning and emotion.
And I think, even a simple sentence like, I love coffee, can have a totally different meaning depending on which word you stress.
Right. If you stress love,
I love coffee.
then you're really emphasizing your feeling.
Yeah.
But if you stress coffee,
I love coffee.
you're talking about the drink.
Exactly. And then intonation, too, like a rising intonation.
At the end of a sentence signals a question.
Exactly. So it's not just about getting the sounds right.
Yeah.
It's about
The music.
the music of the language, the rhythm.
Exactly.
Okay, so practice, practice, practice.
Yes. The more you listen to native speakers, the better you'll get at picking up those patterns.
Right. And I love that they said to record yourself
Oh, yeah.
and listen back.
It's so helpful.
It's so helpful because you might think you sound one way,
Right. You have no idea.
but then when you hear yourself, it's like, oh,
That's what I sound like.
okay, I need to work on that.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. It's like your own personal pronunciation coach in your pocket.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And then the last technique that they mentioned is shadowing.
Oh, yeah. Shadowing is great.
So for people who don't know what that is, can you explain it?
Sure. So basically, you listen to a recording of a native speaker
Okay.
and you try to speak along with them, mirroring their pronunciation as closely as possible.
It sounds hard.
It is challenging, but it's so effective for training your tongue and your ears to work together.
Okay, some pronunciation.
So important.
More than just getting the sounds right.
It's the music of the language.
The rhythm, the flow.
Exactly.
And I think, when you can really embody that musicality.
You're going to sound so much more engaging and natural.
Yeah.
And that's what the examiners are looking for.
It is.
It's that natural fluency. So I think it's time to wrap up this IELTS speaking deep dive.
Okay.
We've really explored a treasure trove of strategies, techniques, and insights to help you conquer this exam.
Yeah. You've got all the tools you need.
From those concise answers to the personal anecdotes to bridging ideas.
Opinion sandwiches.
Opinion sandwiches, we've covered it all.
Yeah.
But the journey doesn't stop here.
Right. Keep practicing.
Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and most importantly,
Keep enjoying the process.
enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Because language is about connection, expression, and sharing ideas.
It is.
And who knows, maybe one day.
You'll be inspiring others with your Band 9 success story.
I love that thought.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy speaking.